Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. There is no HOA. They have no grounds for trying to hold you to previous HOA rules. Best of luck dragging them painfully through the court system for harassing you, OP. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Are you sure you want to port this hidden phone number? Okay then, I hope you're ready for the largest phone bill in history. It happened a long time ago, and I can't remember the exact dialogue that occurred. Everything below is a paraphrase. But you can bet I remember the situation and how it turned out. This was almost 10 years ago now. I was working in the number portability department for a cellular phone company. For those that haven't used it, number portability is the ability to move your existing phone number between carriers. One day, a guy calls in asking to port his landline number to this new cell phone he just bought with us. So far, totally routine. I start moving through this everyday process. To prevent fraud, part of the porting process is us, the new carrier, including some of his old service provider information on our request to his old carrier for their phone number. I start asking for it, stuff like his old service provider account number, service address with them, etc., and he gets super evasive. I don't have it with me, I'm not going to be able to get my hands on a bill for a while, and so on and so forth. Again, nothing I don't commonly run into. I offer to call his old company with him to get the info, and finally, after a couple of more minutes of weird, shady dodging, he finally gives in and explains to me what's going on. His phone number had been used by him in the same situation for almost 10 years, fully functional in their switching system, somehow reserve blocked in their number inventory to prevent the number from being assigned to new customers, but invisible to the phone company's main billing system. What this effectively meant for him was unlimited free phone use as long as he kept quiet about the situation. Super sketchy on the moral end, but there it was. And now this guy wants to port the number to his cell phone. I have connections at the landline company and can have it investigated on their side to make it happen, but first I explained to him that numbers have to be billing active at the old service provider to be transferable to a new company because, due to the fraud prevention I mentioned earlier, they have to match the info we send them against account records. Add to this the fact that if the landline company learned about what happened with this number during the process to pull it out of limbo and put it on a billing account, they would likely bill him for a decade of service that he never saw a bill for, or worse yet, press charges against him. He was effectively knowingly stealing services from them for years by using it, but not notifying them about the lack of billing. There's even a simple winning solution for him that I offered to him at least 3 times during this conversation. I'll give you a new cell phone number, and since your number is fully active in the other carrier switch, you can just set up a switch-based call forwarding to the new cell number using the landline phone. I didn't say the part out loud where the landline company would still never know, but it was very clear he understood the implication. Nope, not good enough. I gotta have that number native on my cell phone. After covering the ground with him a few times about the easy workaround and the likely consequences if he persisted, he finally got testy with me and demanded I start this process, nearly escalating over me. No, sir, no need for that. I was just looking out for you and making sure you understood exactly what you were asking for. But you've told me that you do, so let's do this thing. I set his expectations that due to the situation, this was going to take much longer than normal, and he's fine with that. I set up a follow-up schedule with him, let him go, and start calling my peeps at the landline company. Explain to them what was going on, and the wheels are set into motion. Over almost the next full month, my contacts at the landline company physically tracked down not only the secret phone number that time forgot, it only took a day or two, but they also found history on it in their backup records going back pretty much the whole time. They were happy to do it all since I had explained what happened, and they knew that there were 10 years worth of back services to charge to this guy if they could locate the evidence. Once the number was built onto a billing account over there, I ported it to my company as normal. It took less than a week at that point. I spoke with one of my contacts again a couple of months later on a different matter, and the conversation turned back to this guy again. She couldn't give me exact figures, but she told me that the bill that generated for the landline account wasn't just the 4 or 5 days of service after the account was built that it took to port his number. It was the entire span of service time, about 10 1/3 years all told, plus the late fees and interest that would have accompanied it. This has to be some mind-boggling record-setting figure because most accounts are shut down after a few months of delinquency, but this one couldn't be because the landline company didn't know it even existed. I would have loved to have been there when that guy opened the statement. But alas, his reaction will have to be left to our imaginations. And our second story. Grand Theft Mole People. Background. I work at a pretty big hardware store, UK. We sell from a garden range to building materials for houses, plus we sell quite expensive tools anyway. I'm a cleaner at the store and we come in at 6 a.m. Normal day, walk in with cleaning supervisor and store manager. Lights come on and my supervisor walks over to self-checkout. Let's call him Steve and manager M. Steve. M, why is this crowbar out on the shop floor? M, no idea. Probably just got left behind at closing time. So Steve shrugs it off, hands me the crowbar, and tells me to help him tidy up more of the area. Steve, can I ask why the casting office people haven't shut the self-checkouts either? M runs out of office like an overweight chronic diarrhea sufferer. M, crap, Steve, ring the police. We've been robbed. Which at this point, my supervisor and I have got our fingerprints everywhere. Both of us realize we are in crap, and I've still got the tool used in my hands. I drop the tool and the supervisor asks me to check the motion sensors, see if any have been tripped overnight. Nope, not a one. So then asked me to check all the seals on the doors. Nope, all still clipped together. And how did they get in? We think that they've stayed in the store overnight, robbed it, hidden away in the store again, and they're waiting for us to open so they can walk out with other customers. Steve, aha! They're still here. Go to the back of the store and we'll search them out. M, we know you're in here. Come out, we won't call the police. Shouting as loud as he could. Nope, nothing. Silence. Police arrive half an hour later to come to the same conclusion. FYI, the people must have over 10 grand on them. They're still in the store. Dogs were searching to no avail, so we shut the lights off, don't make a sound, in hopes we'd hear them F up. But just in the distance, to the very far left of the store, there's a crack of light where there's no window nor door. Lights come back on, and we pull away some insulation, and there was a hole in the wall, as well as a hole under the fence protecting the wall. Through at least a 12-inch cement wall, get past our motion sensors, dodge all of our security cameras, and then steal our own tools to break into our own tills, and then go through that all again to get out. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe they deserved that 10 grand. But what wasn't deserved was me and my supervisor thrown into the back of a police van for contaminating evidence and not having a decent enough alibi for the night before. That'd be a hell of a plan. Work on cleaning crews and rob the places, discover the theft when you're cleaning the place to explain the fingerprints. And our last story. And our next story. Ask my neighbor to stop using our driveway. My family, wife, 2 children, and myself just bought a new house that has a driveway capable of fitting 6 cars comfortably. Next to us is a house split into 3 apartments where the staircase to get to the upper apartment comes out 7 feet next to our driveway. The driveway for the apartment house is on the other side of the house, making our driveway super convenient for that upper apartment. Our neighbor in the upper apartment mentioned to my wife that the previous owner allowed her to park in the driveway as it was an older woman that lived alone and didn't need the space. To me, this was a casual attempt to get us to say, "Oh, go ahead," or, "Well, we don't want you to use our driveway." My wife responded with a casual, "Oh, we have 2 kids and need to use all of the space in the driveway for parking and playing." Neighbor proceeds to park in the driveway behind my car many times to bring her laundry up to her apartment, but I wasn't home or I was busy in a meeting as I work from home. My wife wouldn't say anything as she didn't want to seem like an AH, but it bothered me to my core that she would use our driveway without coming out and asking. I just feel like it's a respect thing, as it's my property. Today my Ring camera went off and it was her again, and I could finally go out and say something. I walked out and she said, "Oh, it's just me doing my laundry again." I responded saying, "Could you please not use our driveway? I know it's super convenient, but I would just rather you didn't use it," in a calm tone and manner, and then walked away back to my home. The next time I called a tow truck and her car was taken away, and I honestly don't care as long as our driveway isn't being used without asking. My Ring camera won't go off anymore, my dog won't bark at her using the driveway anymore, and I will no longer have to stew over irrational anger of the driveway being used without permission. And our last story. I'm not going to follow the HOA rules after the HOA is dissolved. This one's a bit of a weird situation. My family moved into a neighborhood when I was 7 years old. It was an HOA neighborhood at the time. In 2010, the neighborhood got together and found out that fully 90% of the owners had no interest in having the HOA. They only maintained a small strip of land at the front of the neighborhood, had allowed the community center, basically a 300-square-foot pavilion built in the early 90s, to fall over and become a hazard. I'm not completely sure about the process the neighborhood went through, but the HOA was dissolved at the end of 2010, and individual volunteers took over maintenance of the two areas. Fast forward to 2018. I was moving back into the area to take care of my mother and found a house for sale in the neighborhood. The price was good, I bought it, nothing mentioned about covenants or regulations or anything. One of my hobbies is vehicles. I collect, refurbish, and build/modify classic and imported vehicles. One of the reasons I bought the house was the 4 cars worth of garage space. My surviving grandparent passed away the same year, and I ended up with 1.5 garages worth of family heirlooms and the like stored at my place. This meant that 3 cars ended up in the driveway. Driveway's large, at least 4 cars across and about 8 to 10 long, with most of that space between my house and detached garage. I have 7 vehicles in the driveway. Within a month, I started receiving notices from the county that there were complaints about my property. Nothing actionable by the county. The vehicles are in good repair, running and registered. I'm just having to deal with the county inspector coming out every month and looking over the vehicles and whatever else people want to nitpick about my property. The inspector told me straight up that it's the former HOA members and that the old covenant said that there could only be 1 vehicle in the driveway. So I started harassment proceedings against everyone complaining. Let's see what comes of it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.